I came to my son's house for Thanksgiving dinner with gifts in my hands and my heart full of warmth. But his wife was cold. "Old man, there's no place for you here." She put a plastic plate on the floor as if it were for a dog. My son laughed. "Eat like a dog." Silence froze like ice. Betrayal by blood cuts deeper than a knife. But then I said 4 words that changed everything, and they begged me for forgiveness. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I pulled my truck into Evan's driveway and killed the engine. Through the windshield, I could see his house. All sharp angles and glass, the kind of modern architecture that screamed money. 3 luxury cars lined the street. A Mercedes, a BMW, a Tesla. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, smoothed down my collar. The button-down shirt was clean. Pressed. I tried. The gift sat beside me on the passenger seat. A designer toy for my grandchildren. $150. I couldn't really afford premium wine. $80. A restaurant gift card. $200. I'd wrapped them carefully, corners crisp. My hands were steady as I gathered them up and walked toward the front door. I helped build this, I thought. My money made this possible. The doorbell echoed inside. Footsteps approached. When Della opened the door, her eyes swept over me once, taking in my simple clothes, my aging face, and something cold flickered there before she stepped back. "You're here," she said. Not a greeting, a statement. "Happy Thanksgiving, Della. I brought some gifts for everyone." I held them up slightly. "You can put them somewhere." She didn't look at the packages, just moved aside, letting me squeeze past into the entryway. The house buzzed with conversation and laughter. A dozen people filled the living room, all strangers to me. Women in designer dresses, men in expensive casual wear, the kind of clothes that look effortless, but cost a month of my pension. They held wine glasses, smiled at each other with practiced ease. "Is Evan around?" I asked. "He's busy with guests. We have a full house today." Della was already turning away, moving back toward her people. I stood there holding the gifts, looking for somewhere to set them down. A side table near the entrance seemed appropriate. I placed them carefully next to a crystal vase and some decorator books. My wrapped packages looked cheap beside such elegance. Across the room, I spotted Evan. He stood near the fireplace, gesturing animatedly to a man, wearing a watch that probably cost more than my truck. When he saw me, he waved, casual, dismissive, but didn't come over. I tried to join a conversation near me. 3 women in their 40s paused when I approached. "Hello," I said. "I'm Simon, Evan's father." "Oh, how nice," one of them said. Her smile was polite, empty. "And what do you do?" "I'm a retired firefighter." "Oh, how nice," she repeated, and immediately turned back to her friends. Their bodies angled away, closing me out. I moved toward Evan. He was deep in conversation, but I needed to connect with someone in this room. "Hey, son. Good to see you." He barely glanced at me. "Hey, Dad. Glad you could make it. This is Marcus. He owns the commercial real estate firm downtown." Marcus extended a limp hand. "Pleasure. I want to catch up," I said to Evan. "It's been a while since." "Yeah, we'll talk later." He was already turning back to Marcus. "So, tell me about that property deal you mentioned." I stood there for another moment, invisible. Then I moved away. Above the fireplace, a framed photo caught my attention. Evan as a boy, maybe 8 years old, sitting on my shoulders at a fire station open house. His gap-toothed grin, my proud smile. I remembered that day, teaching him how the equipment worked, letting him wear my helmet. Other memories flashed. Bike riding lessons in the park, Saturday morning pancakes, soccer games where I cheered until my voice went raw. When had we lost that? "Everyone, dinner's ready." Della's voice cut through the chatter. The crowd moved like a wave toward the dining room. I followed, my stomach tight with anticipation. Maybe at the table, Evan and I could talk properly. The dining room gleamed. Crystal glasses caught the light. Fine china sat at each place, the pattern delicate and expensive. Elegant centerpieces ran down the middle of the long table. I counted the chairs. 12 settings, 12 people. Guests found their seats with easy familiarity, as if they'd done this before. Della directed traffic, placing people strategically. Evan took the head of the table, grinning, relaxed. His important guests flanked him. I stood at the end, waiting. People filled in around me, leaving me standing alone. 5 seconds passed. 10. Everyone else was settling in, unfolding napkins, reaching for water glasses. Where should I sit? My voice came out quieter than I intended. Della turned, and in her hands was a plastic plate, bright red, the kind used at children's birthday parties. Cheap, flimsy. Simon, I'm sorry, but all the seats are taken. We weren't expecting such a full house this year. The room's noise dimmed. People were looking now, but I told Evan I was coming. I said, "We talked last week." "Did you?" "Well, it must have slipped his mind." She walked toward me, holding that plastic plate. "Anyway, you can eat here." She set it on the floor, right there by the doorway next to where people had left their shoes. The room went silent. Every eye turned to me, then to the plate on the floor. Evan's laugh broke the quiet, not nervous. Genuine amusement. "Come on, Dad. Eat like a dog. You're used to simple living, right? Firefighters aren't exactly picky eaters." A woman gasped softly. A man coughed. Someone looked away. Della returned to her seat, as if nothing had happened. "Let's all sit down. The turkey is getting cold." I stared at that plastic plate. Red against the hardwood floor, a child's plate. Less than a plate. An insult made tangible. I looked up at my son, searched his face for shame, regret, recognition that he'd crossed a line. Found none. Just that careless smirk, that easy confidence of a man who thought he could do anything without consequence. My hands began to shake, not from weakness, from fury rising in my chest like a wave I could barely control. I looked at each face around that table, saw their expensive clothes, their uncomfortable expressions, their complicity. These people who'd never risked anything, never run into a burning building, never given everything for someone they loved. The room held its breath. I reached down slowly. My knees cracked. I was 64, not young anymore. My fingers closed around the plastic plate. It weighed nothing. I straightened, holding it at chest level. My jaw tightened. I stared at my son across that gleaming table with all his important friends. The silence stretched. I set the plate down, not throwing it, not handing it back, just placing it carefully on the floor with precise control. When I straightened, my eyes locked on Evan's. I remember everything. For words, quiet, clear. They cut through the room like a blade. Evan's smirk faltered. What's that supposed to mean?" I turned toward the door, didn't run, didn't storm out, just walked with steady purpose. "You'll find out," I said without looking back. "Simon, don't be childish. It's just dinner." Della's voice had that sharp edge she used when things weren't going according to plan. "Dad, come on. Don't be dramatic." "Dad," I heard him calling after me, but I was already opening the front door. The cool evening air hit my face. I stepped out and closed the door quietly behind me. Not a slam. Control mattered now. Behind me, muffled through the door. "What just happened?" Della's response, dismissive. He's always been overly sensitive. Outside, the November air cleared my head slightly. I walked to my truck, my legs moving automatically. When I reached for my keys, my hands were shaking so badly. I dropped them twice before getting the door open. I sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, staring at nothing, started the engine, put it in drive. As I pulled away from that perfect house, I glanced in the rearview mirror. All those luxury cars still parked there, warm light spilling from the windows. They were inside celebrating, and I was driving away alone. The route home blurred past. I missed my turn off the highway, had to circle back. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Passing a car wash triggered the first memory. 2020, Evan in my kitchen, laptop open, showing me glossy photos of luxury cars. His eyes bright with excitement. "Dad, I've got this incredible opportunity. Gordon, premium auto detailing. High-end car care for luxury vehicles, but I need $45,000 to start." "That's a lot of money, son." "I know, but it's an investment. In 2 years, I'll pay you back with interest. This is going to make our family name mean something. You really think you can do this, Dad?" "I promise. Trust me." I remembered writing that check. The way my hand had cramped slightly from the large numbers. Evan hugging me tight, his voice thick with emotion. You're investing in my future, Dad. Our future. We'd even worked on the first location together. I helped paint walls, install equipment, got my hands dirty alongside him. He'd said I was building something that would last. I stopped at a red light. Another memory surfaced sharp and clear. 2022, Evan on my phone. His voice rushed. Dad, the business is expanding. I need another $38,000 for the second location. Once this opens, I'll pay everything back together. Evan, you still haven't paid back the first loan. I know. But you have to spend money to make money, right? Trust me, Dad. When have I ever let you down? 2023, another call. Just $22,000 more, Dad. Marketing and equipment. Temporary cash flow issue. You understand, right? I'm on a fixed income now, son. I'm retired. I'll pay you back. I promise. You're investing in your grandkids' future, too. 20 to 24, 15,000. Vague explanations about unexpected expenses. My questions deflected, but I'd written the check because he was my son, and sons don't betray their fathers. Right. By the time I reached my neighborhood, full dark had fallen. My house looked small, humble, single-story, neat lawn. The place I'd lived for 30 years. It had seemed enough before I'd seen Evan's palace. I parked in the driveway and sat there, engine ticking as it cooled. Finally forced myself to get out, unlocked the front door. Inside silence, I flipped on a single lamp, leaving the rest of the house dim. Took off my coat and just draped it over a chair. Couldn't manage the simple task of hanging it properly. The photo on the mantel stopped me. My wife. She died 6 years ago. The memory hit like a physical blow. Her funeral, gray sky, cold rain. Evan standing beside me in a black suit, checking his watch. Will you stay a while? I'd asked him. I don't want to be alone tonight, Dad. I wish I could, but Della needs me home. The baby's been fussy. Of course, I understand. I'll call you tomorrow. Okay. He hadn't called the next day or the day after. I'd sat in this dark house drowning, and my son had disappeared. The financial help started after that. I saw it clearly now. I'd been buying his attention, trying to keep him close the only way I could. The loans weren't business investments. They were ransom payments for scraps of my son's time. I moved to my office, pulled out the folder marked Evan Business Loans, and spread documents across my desk. Bank statements, canceled checks, printed emails, the handwritten agreements we'd signed. So casual, so trusting. I found my calculator, started adding 45,000, 38,000, 22,000, 15,000, $120,000, 5 years of promises. I organized everything chronologically, highlighted key passages in the agreements, Evan's signatures on each one right next to mine. Text messages. Thanks, Dad. You're the best. I'll pay you back soon. Emails full of gratitude and vows. Documentation, evidence, proof. Hours passed. I made coffee, forgot to drink it. The house stayed dark except for my desk lamp. Outside the neighborhood slept, I found a photo in my desk drawer. Evan at 7 Gap to smile sitting on my shoulders. That fire station open house before everything changed. Before money became the only language between us. I traced my finger over his young face, then set the photo face down on the desk. My phone sat beside the documents. I scrolled through old messages from Evan, reading his promises. Stopped on one from 2020. You're the best dad ever. I'll make you proud. My expression hardened. I picked up a business card from my desk organizer. Robert Chun, attorney. He'd done legal work for the fire department years ago. Handled some property disputes. Good man. Fair. I programmed his number into my phone. Pulled up his contact. Dawn light began creeping through the window, turning the sky from black to gray. I'd been awake all night, sitting with my documents, my memories, my calculations. My thumb hovered over the call button. $120,000. 5 years of manipulation. Tonight's humiliation. The plastic plate on the floor. My son's laughter. Eating like a dog. I looked at young Evan's photo again, still face down. Then at my phone. The hurt was transforming into something else. Something harder, colder. Something that felt like justice. I took a deep breath. I made the call at 8 the next morning. My finger pressed the numbers, with steady purpose. No hesitation left in me. The fire department's legal aid hotline for retirees connected me with a counselor who listened without interruption. I need advice about recovering money I loaned to a family member. I said, "My son, he's refusing to pay it back. I'm sorry you're dealing with this." Her voice carried genuine sympathy. These situations are always painful. Do you have any written agreements or documentation? Yes. Loan agreements he signed, bank statements, text messages, promising repayment, everything. That's good. That's very good. Papers rustled on her end. Let me give you the name of an attorney who specializes in these cases. Thomas Brennan. He's helped other retirees in similar situations. I wrote the name down carefully. Thank you. I need to do this right. The next few days, I became someone I recognized from my firefighting years. Systematic, thorough, mission-focused. I spread every document across my dining table and organized them by date. Bank statements went into one pile, canceled checks in another. The loan agreements, 5 of them each bearing Evan's careless signature, got their own section. Text messages I'd printed out. Emails full of his promises, all arranged chronologically. I bought a 3-ring binder and sheet protectors. Created dividers with labeled tabs. Wrote a timeline on legal paper. November 2020. First loan $45,000. March 2022. Second loan. $38,000 house. Each entry included the amount, Evan's stated purpose, his promise of repayment. By the time I finished, the folder looked professional, official, the kind of evidence that spoke for itself. The work helped, turning grief into data, betrayal into proof. My hands stayed busy, while my mind stayed sharp. Brennan's office occupied the 3rd floor of a modest building in downtown Phoenix. The waiting room held outdated magazines and a tired receptionist behind scratched glass. When he called me in, I stood, shook his hand with the firm grit my father taught me. His office smelled like old paper and coffee. He gestured to a chair across from his desk, and I sat, opening my folder with care. "This is thorough," Brendan said, flipping through pages. He was late at 50s, graying at the temples, reading glasses perched on his nose. "You've documented everything well, Mr. Gordon. Under Arizona law, we can pursue this. Family loans are enforceable contracts if there's evidence of intent to repay. So I have a case. You have the foundation of a case." He set down one document, picked up another, but I'll be honest. We need more. We need proof your son used this money for the stated business purposes and evidence of his current financial capacity. That's where investigation comes in. My chest tightened. How long will this take? If we file suit, 4 to 6 months to get to court. Maybe longer if they fight it. I looked at Evan's signature on one of the agreements. The ink slightly smudged where his hand had moved too fast. I waited 5 years for him to do the right thing. I can wait 6 more months for justice. Brennan recommended a private investigator that same afternoon. I met Wendy Torres at a coffee shop 2 blocks from his office. She arrived exactly on time. Black blazer and direct eye contact. Notebook already open on the table. "I need to be clear about what I can and can't do," she said after we'd exchanged basic pleasantries. "I can verify business filings, check public records, observe operations in Arizona. I can record conversations I'm part of. That's legal here, but I can't hack computers or trespass on private property. I just need the truth." I wrapped both hands around my coffee cup. What's his business really like? Is he actually successful, or is it all for show? I'll find out. Give me 2 weeks for the initial investigation. I'll document everything legally admissible. That's all I'm asking for. Facts, she smiled slightly. You'd be surprised how often facts are enough. Her fee was steep. $150 per hour plus expenses. I signed her contract with hands that only trembled slightly. This was money I couldn't easily spare, but Brennan had been clear. Without evidence, I had nothing but old promises and hurt feelings. As I sat in my truck afterward, engine idling in the parking lot, I thought about Evan and Della at that table. Their wealthy friends, their expensive clothes, their need to appear successful. The lawsuit would hurt them financially, assuming I won. But there was something else they cared about even more than money. Their reputation. The idea planted itself in my mind like a seed. I didn't know how to use it yet, but I knew it mattered. Legal revenge was one path. Social consequences might be another. A few days later, I drove to the cemetery with flowers, white roses, my wife's favorite. I'd passed a small shop called Desert Bloom dozens of times without stopping. But today, I pulled into the lot. Inside, the air smelled green and alive. A woman around my age stood behind the counter, arranging carnations in a vase. She looked up and smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen directed at me in weeks. "Can I help you find something?" "White roses," I said, "for my wife's grave." "These ones are beautiful. They're popular this time of year." She selected a dozen with careful hands, wrapping them in brown paper. "I'm sorry for your loss. How long has it been?" 6 years. But some days it feels like yesterday." Her eyes softened with understanding. "I lost my husband 4 years ago. The missing doesn't really go away, does it? It just becomes part of you." Something in my chest loosened at her words. "No, it doesn't go away. I'm Gloria, by the way. Come back anytime. Flowers have a way of helping, even just being around them." I paid for the roses and left, but her name stayed with me. Gloria, the warmth in her voice, the recognition of shared pain. At the cemetery, I knelt beside the headstone and placed the flowers in the built-in vase. Usually, I talk to my wife here. Updates about life. Apologies for not visiting more often. Today, I stayed quiet. Just knelt in the grass with my hand on the cold stone. "I'm doing something you probably wouldn't approve of," I finally said, "going after Evan legally. But you didn't see how he treated me. You didn't see the person he's become." Wind moved through nearby trees. A bird called somewhere close. I met someone today, just briefly. A woman at the flower shop. She was kind. I'd forgotten what that felt like. I touched the stone once more, then stood. My knees protested. 64 years old, body remembering every fire I'd run into, every ladder I'd climbed. Driving home, I thought about Gloria's face. Not my grief, not Evan's betrayal, but that unexpected moment of human kindness from a stranger who understood loss. As I pulled into my driveway, I realized something had shifted. I wasn't just planning revenge. I was starting to imagine what life might look like after. 2 weeks later, Wendy called. "We need to meet," she said. "I've got information you'll want to see in person." The diner she chose sat on the edge of downtown Phoenix, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. She was already there when I arrived, folder open in front of her. I slid into the booth across from her. She didn't waste time. "Your son's in trouble." She turned the folder so I could see photographs, documents, printed screenshots. "The business looks good from outside, but the books tell a different story." She laid out photos of Evan's 3 locations, Gordon Premium Auto Detailing, each with expensive signage and clean storefronts. Then she showed me the collection notices she'd photographed through windows. Past due rent payments, final warnings. How bad is it? 2 of 3 locations losing money. $180,000 in bank debt. Behind on rent at 2 properties. If he doesn't turn it around soon, he's looking at bankruptcy. I stared at the numbers, the notices, the evidence of failure hidden behind that successful facade. So, he needed my money just to stay afloat. More than that, he still needs money. That's probably why he cut you off. You weren't useful anymore after you retired. The words hit like a physical blow, but I kept my face neutral. That's exactly what happened. Wendy pulled out her phone, scrolled to a website. "One more thing. They're throwing a charity gala next month. Fancy event, $500 per ticket. They're all over social media, playing the generous benefactors." She showed me the screen. Evan and Della in formal wear, arms around each other, smiling at the camera. The event description talked about community leadership, giving back, supporting children's literacy. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Benefactors. They won't pay back the man who funded their life, but they'll throw a party to look charitable. The hypocrisy is pretty breathtaking. Thought you'd want to know. I do. I studied the date. December 15th, less than 3 weeks away. This is perfect, actually. Perfect how? I'm not sure yet, but I'll figure it out. I took copies of everything, thanked Wendy, asked her to keep monitoring their social media. Then I drove straight to Brennan's office with the evidence. He reviewed each document with growing satisfaction, making notes on his legal pad, highlighting specific sections. "This strengthens our case significantly," he said. "It shows he received money, used it for businesses claimed, but mismanaged funds. We're ready to file soon." I left his office, feeling the legal side was solid, but my mind kept returning to that gala photograph, Evan's confident smile, Della's elegant dress, their performance of generosity and success. 3 days later, I returned to Desert Bloom. Gloria looked up from a floral arrangement when the bell chimed. Her face brightened with recognition. "Back so soon? I wanted to ask about ordering flowers for an event." It was half excuse, half genuine inquiry. "Do you do arrangements for large gatherings?" She led me to a portfolio, flipping through photos of weddings, corporate events, elaborate displays. Her hands moved with practiced grace, pointing out different styles and options. "What kind of event?" she asked. I admit I'm not entirely sure yet. The truth slipped out before I could stop it. "It's complicated." She set down the portfolio, studied my face. "Last time you were here, you mentioned a family situation. Is it getting any better?" I found myself telling her more than I'd intended. About the money, about Evan's refusal to pay it back, about discovering his business was failing while he pretended to be successful. "Your son?" She looked genuinely shocked. "The one you were visiting for Thanksgiving?" "That same son. I helped fund his business for years. Now that I'm retired and can't give more, I'm disposable." "That's cruel." "I'm sorry, Simon. I'm taking legal action. Hired a lawyer, investigator. I'm done being the understanding father." She nodded slowly. "Good. You deserve better." We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me about her own children, daughter in Portland, son in Charlotte, how they called on holidays but hadn't visited in 2 years, how she understood loneliness, understood what it felt like when family disappointed you. "The shop helps," she said. "Flowers, customers staying busy. But some days," she trailed off and met my eyes. "I close at 5. Would you like to get coffee sometime?" The question surprised me. So did my immediate answer. "Yes, I'd like that." We exchanged numbers, agreed to meet the next day at a cafe in Central Phoenix. I left with a lightness I hadn't felt in weeks. The cafe had big windows and quiet corners. I arrived 5 minutes early, unusual for me, showing nerves I didn't want to acknowledge. When Gloria arrived, I stood awkwardly, unsure if I should hug her or shake hands. She solved it by touching my shoulder warmly before sitting. "Tell me about being a firefighter," she said. "You must have some incredible stories." 32 years of them, some scary, some funny, some that still keep me awake at night. "What made you do it? Run into burning buildings when everyone else runs out?" I thought about it, watching steam rise from my coffee. Honestly, I liked helping people. Sounds simple, but that's what it was. You make a difference when you pull someone out of a fire or save their home. You still help people, don't you? Her insight caught me off guard. "That's who you are." I try to be, even when they don't deserve it. Maybe it's time to help yourself first. We talked for over an hour. She told me about buying the flower shop 15 years ago, how it had saved her after her husband's death, how working with living things, with beauty gave her purpose, when grief threatened to swallow her whole. I told her about the firehouse, the brotherhood, the satisfaction of work that mattered, about my wife and the hole her absence left, about feeling lost in retirement, like I'd stopped being useful. "You're not useless," Gloria said firmly. "You're just between chapters." I realized I was smiling, had been smiling for the past 10 minutes. When was the last time that happened? When we finally left, we stood by our cars in the parking lot, neither wanting the conversation to end. "I'm glad you came back to my shop that day," she said, her hand resting lightly on my arm. "So am I." I drove home as the sun set, painting the desert sky orange and pink. In the passenger seat sat Wendy's folder, evidence of Evan's lies, proof of his failures, ammunition for the lawsuit. My phone held Gloria's contact, her warmth, the possibility of something beyond anger and betrayal. I sat in my truck outside my house for a long time, engine ticking as it cooled, held my phone in one hand, Wendy's folder in the other. One represented everything that had gone wrong. The other represented something that might go right. I wasn't sure which one I was more afraid of. Brennan filed the lawsuit the following week. The process server, a woman in business casual, walked into Gordon Premium Auto Detailing's main location at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Evan was standing beside a Tesla, showing a client paint protection packages on an iPad. Professional, confident, the image of success. Evan Gordon. He turned, confused. Yes. She handed him the manila envelope. You've been served. The client stepped back. Evan opened the envelope right there, his face shifting from confusion to shock. Complaint for breach of contract. $120,000. His hands trembled. The client mumbled something about calling later and left. Evan stood frozen. Other customers watching, employees glancing over. My phone rang an hour later. Evan's name on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello, Evan. Shouting erupted so loud I held the phone away from my ear. You're suing me? Your own son? Are you out of your mind? No, Evan, I'm finally thinking clearly. This is betrayal. Family doesn't do this to family. You're right. Family doesn't. I kept my voice level. So, explain Thanksgiving to me. Explain that plastic plate on the floor. Explain eat like a dog. That was a joke. You're too sensitive. Do you remember those 4 words I said? I paused, let the silence hang. I remember everything. Every check, every promise, every signed agreement, and I have proof. You're going to regret this, old man. Have your lawyer contact mine. I hung up while he was mid-sentence, set the phone face down on the table. My hand shook slightly, but my jaw was set. Over the next few days, Della launched a campaign. Gloria had suggested I check Facebook, see what they were saying. I found Della's profile, a photo of her and Evan looking somber. The caption talked about unexpected challenges and family situations that test your strength. The comments overflowed with support. You two are so strong, and sending prayers. I scrolled through more posts, each one carefully crafted, hinting at my instability without naming me. I screenshot everyone, evidence if I needed it. Then the phone call started. Simon, honey, I'm worried about you. My cousin Barbara voiced dripping concern. Evan called me and he said, You're confused about some money. I'm not confused, Barbara. I loaned him $120,000 over 5 years. He signed agreements to repay. He never did. Now I'm suing. But Simon, are you sure you didn't give him that money as gifts? Maybe you just forgot. Barbara, I have documents, bank statements, his signature on loan agreements. I'm a retired firefighter, not a millionaire. I don't give 6F-figure gifts. A pause. Della said, You've been having some difficulties. Memory issues. Della is lying. Each call followed the same pattern. Family members, old friends, all coached with the same narrative. Poor Simon, confused, needs help. Some I convinced with documentation. Others had already decided. Gloria met me for coffee 3 times that week. She listened to me vent about the calls, about Della's posts. She didn't just sympathize. She got angry. They're gaslighting you. You know that, right? I know what they're doing. I stirred my coffee without drinking it. It's just hard when people you've known for years look at you like you're losing it. You have documentation. You have a lawyer. You have the truth. Don't let them make you doubt any of that. Some people won't even look at the evidence. They've already decided Evan's the victim. Then they're not worth your time. Focus on winning your case. She was right. She was absolutely right. That evening, Gloria invited me to her house for dinner. I arrived with a bottle of wine, nervous in a way I hadn't been since I was young. Her home was modest, but warm, lived in, comfortable, real. She'd cooked pot roast. Nothing fancy, but it smelled like home. We ate at her kitchen table, talking easily. She told me about a difficult customer that day. Someone who wanted roses, but complained they smelled too much like roses. I laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in weeks. After dinner, we moved to her couch with coffee. The conversation drifted to deeper things. Her late husband, my late wife. What it meant to start over in your 60s. I like having you here, she said quietly. It's nice to cook for someone again, to have conversation over dinner. I like being here. I haven't felt this comfortable anywhere, and I don't know how long. Good. Then come back often. Anytime. We sat close, our knees almost touching. She placed her hand on my arm when I was telling a story about the firehouse. Her touch was warm, steady. I looked at her face in the soft lamplight. Gloria, I need to tell you something. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She glanced at it, her expression shifting. Simon, this is from my daughter. She's been following some Facebook posts about an elderly firefighter suing his son. She's asking if I know anything about it. My chest tightened. What exactly is she seeing? Gloria read from her phone. She says there's a woman posting about how her father-in-law is having mental issues and falsely accusing them of owing money. The posts don't name names, but the details match. People are commenting, sharing it. Della. She's spreading it wider than I thought. Gloria looked up at me, concern clear in her eyes. Simon, this could get ugly. The next morning, I told Gloria everything. I met her at Desert Bloom before opening. She unlocked the door, surprised to see me. We need to talk, I said. She let me in, locked the door behind us, flipped the sign to closed. We sat in her back office, surrounded by orders and vases. I haven't told you everything about Thanksgiving. I began about why I'm really doing this. Tell me now. I chose my words carefully, reliving that moment. When I got there, Della opened the door like I was a stranger. Inside, all these wealthy people. No one talked to me. Then at dinner, there were 12 place settings. 12 people. I stood there waiting. No chair for me. Gloria leaned forward. What did they do? Della brought out a plastic plate, one of those cheap kids' plates. She set it on the floor next to where people left their shoes. And she said, "You can eat here." Evan laughed. He said, "Eat like a dog, Dad. You're used to simple living." Gloria's face hardened. That's inhuman. Everyone just stared. That's when I said it. I remember everything. And I left. She reached across, gripped my hand firmly. You should have told me this sooner. I would have understood everything better. Those 4 words, they had 2 meanings. I squeezed her hand back. The obvious one, I'd remember that humiliation. But the real meaning, I remember every check I wrote, every loan agreement, every promise Evan made, every document with his signature. I'd been keeping records for years, not even knowing why. Some part of me knew I'd need proof someday. You were protecting yourself, without realizing it. I wanted to believe in him, but I documented everything anyway. And when he pushed me too far, I had everything I needed. Gloria's eyes were wet, but not with pity, with fury on my behalf. That's not revenge. That's justice. My phone rang. Wendy. Her voice was tense. We need to meet now. This is urgent. 30 minutes later, I pulled into a shopping center parking lot. Wendy's car was already there. I got in her passenger seat. She handed me her phone with earbuds. Listen to this. Evan's voice came through clearly. He was at a restaurant with someone, a lawyer from Context. They were discussing me, discussing guardianship, discussing declaring me mentally incompetent. My blood ran cold. We claim the lawsuit proves dementia. The lawyer said he's confused about gifts being loans. We file for guardianship, then claim he actually borrowed from you to maintain his house. We create documentation showing he owes you the house. Can we do that? Evan asked. I can draft the papers, backdate some loan agreements, sign his name. We have samples. If we move fast before his lawyer catches on, we can get a lien on the property. The recording ended. I sat in silence, hands gripping the phone. They want to take my house, I said quietly. They want to lock me away. Wendy nodded grimly. That's exactly what they want. This lawyer lost his license once, got it back on a technicality. He's willing to commit fraud. I called Gloria from the parking lot. I need your help. Can you meet me at a notary office? Text me the address. I'll be there in 20 minutes. At the notary's office, a small storefront operation. I explained what I needed. The notary, a middle-aged woman who'd seen everything, pulled out forms without blinking. A will leaving my house and assets to the firefighters' benevolent fund. Medical power of attorney to Gloria. Financial power of attorney to Gloria with strict limitations. When it was Gloria's turn to sign as my attorney, in fact, she hesitated, pen hovering. I covered her hand with mine. Please, I trust you. She looked at me for a long moment, then signed. We went directly to Brennan's office. Late afternoon light slanted through the windows. I handed over Wendy's recording device and printed transcripts. Brennan listened, jaw tightening. He made notes rapidly, occasionally muttering. Unbelievable. This is textbook elder abuse. He pulled up Arizona statutes on his computer, showing us criminal penalties. Then he started drafting motions, typing fast. After an hour, he handed me copies. We're filing these tomorrow morning, first thing. A restraining order preventing them from filing guardianship petitions or property claims. And I'm amending our complaint to include attempted fraud and conspiracy. He looked at me seriously. This actually strengthens our case, shows consciousness of guilt. But Simon, you need to understand they're desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. Watch your back. He won't be alone, Gloria said firmly. I'll make sure of that. Evening fell as we left Brennan's office. The sky turned orange and purple. I started toward my truck, but Gloria stopped me. Leave it. We'll get it tomorrow. You're coming with me. She said it with finality. I nodded, got in her car. As she drove through Phoenix streets, we were mostly quiet, processing the day. Gloria reached over briefly, squeezed my hand on the armrest. I didn't let go. We drove the rest of the way, holding hands. You're staying at my house, she said. For a few days at least. I don't want to put you in the middle of this. Evan and Della are I'm already in the middle of it. I signed those documents. I'm your attorney. In fact, more than that, I care about you. You're not facing them alone. Gloria, I don't know what I did to deserve. You didn't do anything. Sometimes good people find each other when they need each other most. That's all this is. It's more than that. For me it is. She squeezed my hand tighter. For me too. Now let's get you home. My home. Our home for now. I looked at her profile in the fading light. This woman who barely knew me weeks ago and was now letting me into her life, putting herself at risk by opposing my family. For the first time in years, I wasn't alone in this fight. 2 weeks passed in a strange sort of peace. Living with Gloria felt less like staying with someone and more like coming home. We developed rhythms. Morning coffee together at her kitchen table. She'd leave for the flower shop with a kiss on my cheek. I'd handle legal calls and documents at her dining table. Evenings we cooked together, talked about anything except Evan and lawsuits, but the gala approached. December 15th. I'd been watching their social media promotion, glossy photos, hashtags about community leadership, ticket prices that could feed a family for weeks. I made a phone call to the Firefighters Association president. Jake, I saw that Evan and Della are hosting this big charity event. Made me think. We do charity work every day, just without the fancy venue. What are you thinking, Simon? Maybe it's time people remembered what real community service looks like. Retired guys living on pensions, still volunteering, still helping. Jake understood immediately. A newspaper piece. I know someone at the Chronicle, just highlighting the good work. Nothing controversial, just truth. The reporter who interviewed me was young, earnest. She asked about my years of service, what retirement meant, how I stayed connected to the community. Gordon says he's proud to support the next generation, including his son, Evan, an entrepreneur in Scottsdale. She wrote in her notes. I said it without irony. She didn't catch the subtext. Will you be at his charity gala this weekend? I'm not on the guest list, but that's fine. Different generations, different social circles. The article published December 15th, Phoenix Chronicle, Local Heroes section. My photo and old firefighter gear. 5 of us featured. Mine included that careful line about supporting my son. I bought the paper that morning, sat in Gloria's car reading it. Perfect, just factual enough to seem innocent, positioned exactly right to raise questions. That evening, while the gala happened across town, Gloria and I stayed home. We cooked together pasta with her late husband's recipe for marinara sauce, something she hadn't made in years. She said cooking it with me felt right, not sad. We ate by candlelight. Talked about her daughter in Portland, about whether we should visit in spring. My phone buzzed. Text from Jake. Articles getting shared everywhere. Fire department's official page posted it. Good visibility. I smiled. Set the phone aside. Everything went as planned? Gloria asked. Better than planned. Does it feel good? The revenge. I considered her question. It's not about feeling good. It's about them understanding that actions have consequences. That they can't just erase me and expect no one to notice. Later, I learned what happened at the gala. Wendy had a contact there, sent me details the next day. Evan and Della looked perfect. Him in a tuxedo, her in some designer gown. They worked the room, posed for photographers, played their roles flawlessly. Then guests started mentioning the article. I saw something wonderful in the Chronicle today. Your father's firefighter service. Such an impressive career. Evan deflected with vague smiles. Someone asked directly, why isn't your father here tonight? This seems like the kind of event he'd appreciate. He's busy with other commitments, Evan managed. But the questions kept coming. Then Richard Chambers, one of Evan's business investors, cornered him near the bar. Evan, we need to talk about something I heard. There's a lawsuit from your father over business loans. Is that accurate? Evan's smile went rigid. It's a misunderstanding. Family matter being resolved quietly. Except it's in court, public record. And if you're disputing legitimate business loans from family, that makes me question your financial ethics. Our investment was based on trust. Della tried to intervene, but Chambers wasn't finished. Integrity matters in business. We'll be reviewing our position. The gala didn't collapse, but it ended in whispers. I wasn't there to see it, but I could imagine Della's frozen smile, Evan's mounting panic. I didn't need to watch them fall. Gloria found me later scrolling through updates on my phone. She took it from my hands, set it on the coffee table. Dance with me, she said. The radio was playing something soft from the 60s. I hesitated. I hadn't danced in decades, but took her hand. We moved slowly in the small space between couch and coffee table. She rested her head on my shoulder. You're a terrible dancer, she murmured. I laughed. I warned you. I don't care. This is perfect. The music played. Outside, Phoenix glittered with December lights. Somewhere across town, Evan and Della were cleaning up after their compromised event. But here in this small living room, I was exactly where I needed to be. Gloria, I need to say something. I'm falling in love with you. I probably already have. She pulled back to look at me. Probably. Definitely. Definitely have. Good. Because I'm already there, too. We continued dancing closer now. My phone buzzed again on the table. Another update. Another piece of fallout, but I didn't reach for it. As we danced in that small living room, the music soft and Gloria's hand warm in mine, I understood something I hadn't before. Winning wasn't about watching them fall. It was about building something worth more than revenge. Winter passed in a strange duality. January brought cold mornings and warm coffee. Gloria's hand and mine across the breakfast table. Newspapers read in comfortable silence. She'd leave for work, kiss the top of my head in passing. A casual intimacy that still amazed me. I'd moved more of my belongings to her house. We'd stopped discussing when I'd moved back. This was home now. But January also brought Evan's counterattack. His lawyers filed motion after motion, requests for continuances, discovery disputes, procedural challenges. Each one required Brennan to respond, cost money, consume time. The strategy was exhaustion. Make it too expensive, too draining. Hope I'd settle for pennies, or give up entirely. Then came their counterclaim. $50,000 for emotional distress caused by my lawsuit. Brennan called it nuisance litigation, said it had no merit, but we'd have to respond. Della ramped up her social media presence, posts about toxic family dynamics and elder manipulation tactics, never naming me. But the details were unmistakable. Her friends commented supportively, creating an echo chamber of sympathy. Some posts went viral in certain circles. Young families victimized by greedy older relatives who gave gifts then demanded return. I saw these posts. They stung. Look at this. I showed Gloria one evening. She's calling me a predator. Says I'm trying to steal their future. Gloria read it, then set my phone face down on the table. She's lying. She knows she's lying. The question is, do you know that? Of course I know. Then why are you letting it hurt you? These people don't matter. Her friends don't know you. They don't know the truth. Your lawyer knows. I know. The judge will know. That's all that matters. I exhaled slowly. You're right. I know you're right. Let it roll off. Save your energy for the trial and for us. We're more important than her lies. February broad evening walks around her neighborhood, planning our future between street lights. When this is over, really over, what do you want your life to look like? Gloria asked. Honestly, quiet, peaceful. I want to wake up without checking for legal motions. With me? Yes, definitely with you. I've been thinking maybe I should sell my house. Move in here officially if you want that. She stopped walking, turned to face me. Are you asking what I think you're asking? Not marriage, not yet, but living together. Really together. Making this official. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Her smile was immediate. Certain. I want that too. You're sure? Because once this is really my address, you're stuck with me, she laughed. I'm already stuck with you. Might as well make it official. Late February, Wendy called with urgent news. I met her at Gloria's house. Both of us sitting on the couch while Wendy set up her laptop. You need to hear this recording. Evan's voice came through the speakers, slurred with alcohol, frustrated. He was at a restaurant with his business partner, apparently unaware of Wendy's proximity. The old man thinks he'll win. He can't prove anything. I'll just forge more documents if I have to. Make it look like he's confused. The partner's voice warning. Evan, stop talking. I'm serious. Whatever it takes. He's not getting that money. Wendy stopped the playback. This is from 3 days ago. He doesn't know I was there. I sat silent, processing. Gloria's hand found mine. Play it again, I said. The second time through, I took notes. Evan's exact words, the context, the admission of intent to commit fraud. This wasn't just evidence. It was proof of consciousness of guilt, admission of the debt's existence, threat of future crimes. Brennan reviewed it the next day via video call. His expression shifted from professional interest to something harder. With this recording, we don't just win the civil case. This is evidence of criminal intent. The DA might be interested. I don't want him in prison, I said. I just want my money and my dignity. That's your choice. But this recording means he won't fight anymore. He can't win. Late February, Gloria and I sat in Brennan's office for trial preparation. Sunlight slanted through the windows. Brennan laid out the strategy. My testimony, the documentation, the timeline of loans and broken promises. And now Evan's own recorded words. They've given us everything we need. Brennan said. Evan's own words will convict him. Trial is set for late April. We're ready. I nodded, but I wasn't triumphant, just tired, ready for this to be over. Gloria squeezed my hand. We walked out together into winter sunlight. In the parking lot, I stopped, looked at her. 2 more months, then maybe we can actually start our life. We've already started it, she said gently. This is just the last chapter of the old story. What's the first chapter of a new one? Us together building something good. I opened her car door. Thank you for everything, for standing with me. Where else would I be? We drove home, and it was home now. Fully completely through Phoenix streets. The afternoon sun warmed through the windows. Trial approaching, but future already beginning. March brought the first real heat of spring, and the final countdown to trial. Brennan's office became my second home. We spent hours at his conference table, documents organized in labeled stacks. Each one tabbed, color-coded, ready for court. He played opposing counsel, asking questions designed to rattle me. Mr. Gordon, isn't it true you gave this money to your son as gifts, and now you're fabricating this loan story because you're angry? I pointed to a document. Here's his signature promising repayment. Here's a text message. I'll pay you back, Dad. I promise. These aren't gifts. Brennan nodded. Good. Stay calm like that. Don't let them bait you into anger. I spent 32 years staying calm in emergencies. I can handle a courtroom. That's exactly the energy. Competent, factual, unshakable. Gloria attended some sessions, seeing the depth of my documentation for the first time. Afterwards, she said, You really did remember everything. 2 weeks before trial, I was at my house organizing boxes when I heard a car in the driveway. Evan's BMW. He got out looking haggard, wrinkled shirt, unshaved. dark circles under his eyes. We stood in the driveway 10 feet apart. Dad, please, we need to talk. I crossed my arms, waited. I'll pay you back. $2,000 a month. I can do that. Just drop the lawsuit. You swore before many times. I mean it now. I'm desperate. DIL is threatening divorce. My business is falling apart. You're destroying my life. I'm not destroying anything. I'm holding you accountable. There's a difference. He started crying. I'm your son. How can you do this to your own son? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw not my little boy, but a man who'd made choices, who'd chosen to treat me like nothing. Evan, I would have forgiven the money, all of it. But that day, that Thanksgiving, that plastic plate on the floor, you showed me exactly what I am to you. Nothing. You can't come back from that with an apology. So that's it. You're just going to ruin me. I'm not ruining you. You did this to yourself. You took my money, broke your promises, then humiliated me in front of strangers. Actions have consequences, Evan. That's something you never learned. His face shifted from pleading to fury. You'll regret this. When you're sitting alone in this house, bitter and miserable, you'll regret pushing me away. I'm not alone. I have people who actually care about me. Maybe that's something you'll learn when everyone else leaves you too. We're done. After this, you're not my father. You stopped treating me like a father a long time ago. I'm just making it official. He stormed to his car, peeled out. I stood there watching him go, feeling only sadness for who he'd become. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. Simon, it's Robert, Margaret's brother. I stepped away for privacy. My late wife's brother, Evan's uncle. He'd been silent throughout this whole ordeal. Robert, it's good to hear from you. Too long. I should have called sooner. Simon, I want you to know. I believe you. I've watched Evan for years. Saw how he treated you after Margaret died. Saw him lie about his business. Brag about success I knew wasn't real. My voice caught. You saw that? I did. And I'm ashamed I didn't say anything sooner, but I'm saying it now. If your lawyer needs a character witness, someone to testify about Evan's pattern of dishonesty, I'll do it. Margaret would want me to stand with you. Thank you. You don't know what that means. Family should stand together. And your family, Simon, always will be. Later that week, Gloria and I attended a firefighter's retirement dinner. We arrived together, clearly a couple. Friends approached, shook hands, congratulated us both. Good for you finding someone. My old captain said, You deserve happiness, Simon. Throughout the evening, we moved as a unit. Comfortable, right? Gloria changed her Facebook status in a relationship with Simon Gordon. Small thing, but it mattered. We were official, public, building a future. The night before trial, we sat on my porch watching the sunset. The house behind us was already listed for sale. I was moving to Gloria's permanently. Are you nervous about tomorrow? She asked. Yes and no. I'm not nervous about the case. I know we'll win. But facing him in court, hearing whatever lies his lawyer tells, that part worries me. You're not the same man you were on Thanksgiving. You're stronger now. I feel stronger, but I also feel tired. Ready for this to be over? It will be tomorrow or the next day. And then we start the next chapter. I squeezed her hand together. Together, officially, publicly, permanently. If you'll have me, I'll have you. I want nothing more than to build a life with you. As the sun disappeared behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and purple, I felt ready. Not just for the trial, but for whatever came after. The courthouse stood solid and imposing in the June morning heat. Gloria, Brennan, and I walked through security together. My suit was simple, but clean, professional. On the elevator, we rode in silence. When the doors opened, Evan and Della were already there talking with their lawyer. We made brief eye contact. No greeting, just acknowledgement. The courtroom was formal. Wood paneling, high ceilings, the weight of justice in every detail. We took our seats at the plaintiff's table. Gloria sat in the gallery directly behind me, close enough that I could feel her presence. Judge Patricia Martinez entered. 50s professional. No nonsense. Court was in session. Brennan presented methodically. Timeline first. Loans from 2020 through 2024 totaling $120,000. bank statements showing transfers, loan agreements with Evan's signature, text messages. I'll pay you back, Dad. I promise. Emails confirming intent to repay. Wendy Torres testified about her investigation, Evan's business struggles, the mounting debts, the 3 locations barely surviving. Then came the recording. Brennan set up the context, explained how it was legally obtained, then played it. Evan's voice filled the courtroom. The old man thinks he'll win. He can't prove anything. I'll just forge more documents if I have to. Make it look like he's confused. The silence afterward was profound. Evan's lawyer objected, overruled. The recording was admissible. I glanced at Evan. He had his head in his hands. Della sat rigid beside him, crying quietly. Evan's lawyer tried a different approach. Couldn't dispute the money, so he argued these were gifts twisted into loans by a vindictive father. It was weak. Judge Martinez's expression showed she wasn't buying it. After a brief recess, the judge returned with a ruling. I've reviewed all submitted evidence and heard testimony today. This is straightforward breach of contract with the complication of family dynamics. However, family relationships do not exempt parties from contractual obligations. She looked directly at Evan. Mr. Gordon, your conduct toward your father is reprehensible. Attempting to declare a competent adult incompetent, creating false documents, public defamation. These constitute elder abuse under Arizona law. She delivered the verdict. I find in favor of plaintiff Simon Gordon. Defendant Evan Gordon is ordered to pay $120,000 principal plus $18,000 in interest, totaling $138,000 payable over 24 months. Additionally, I award $15,000 in damages for emotional distress and defamation. Total judgment $153,000. Her gavel fell. I'm also filing a report with the district attorney's office regarding potential criminal charges. Court adjourned. Outside on the courthouse steps, Gloria hugged me. Not celebratory, just supportive. How do you feel? She asked, relieved, tired, sad. Brennan shook my hand. You won completely. I know, but winning doesn't feel the way I thought it would. I got justice, but I lost my son in the process. Gloria squeezed my arm. You didn't lose him. He lost himself years ago. Today just made it official. Maybe. I hope someday he figures it out. But I can't wait for that day. A week later, my phone rang. Evan, I almost didn't answer, but did me. His voice was hollow, defeated. I know. Della filed for divorce yesterday. She's taking everything. The business is filing for bankruptcy next week. I'm moving out of the house. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? You won. You destroyed me. I never said I'd destroy you. I said I'd hold you accountable. There's a difference. Evan, silence. Then you were right about everything. I was an idiot. You can pay the judgment in installments, like the court ordered. And Evan, if you actually change, really change, call me someday. Maybe we can figure out how to be father and son again. But I'm not waiting for that. I'm moving forward with my life. Okay, just that. Then he hung up. Weeks later, I stood on my porch with Gloria. The house had a sold sign now. We were watching another Arizona sunset. Hands intertwined. You really think he can change? She asked. I don't know. Maybe. He's my son. I have to believe it's possible. But you're not putting your life on hold waiting for it. No. I spent too many years waiting for him to do the right thing. We're building our life now together. I like the sound of that. Our life. I looked at the sunset. All those shades of orange and purple that had become familiar over these months of transformation. You know what's funny? 6 months ago, I came to his house for Thanksgiving, hoping for family. Now I've got you, and that's more family than I've had in years. She smiled. That's not funny. That's perfect. We stood in comfortable silence. The evening air was warm, gentle. Somewhere across Phoenix, Evan was rebuilding from nothing. Maybe he'd find his way. Maybe not, but my story wasn't about him anymore. Ready to start the next chapter? I asked. Been ready since the day you walked into my flower shop? We went inside together, leaving the porch in the past behind, walking into the life we'd built from ashes and unexpected kindness. A life worth more than any revenge could ever be. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left.